Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Cast to the Future. This is a show where we recast films 20 years or older and put them into the modern era. We pretend that these films were never made in that time, that never existed, but what if they were made in the year 2020? My name is Curtis Lopez. I am your host, and I am also the declaration judge of today's event. And our debaters, we have we have Danny Cox as one of our debaters. We got Erik Waldman, our other debater, and we also got Travis Sanders as our third debater. And as for our judges, we have Jeremy Weinreich. Jeremy. We got Kevin Barlev. Kevin is over there. And last but not least, we got Logan Horberg, who has his neat courtroom background there. So, as we start, the movie that we are going to cast, appropriately enough, is Back to the Future. Appropriate movie to start off this first episode for Cast to the Future. Now, Back to the Future is a science fiction comedy film released on the date of July 3rd, 1985. The premise stars Michael J. Fox as a teenager, Marty McFly, who accidentally travels back in time from 1985 to 1955, where he meets his future parents and becomes his mother's romantic interest. Not creepy at all. Christopher Lloyd, who portrays the eccentric scientist Dr. Emmett Doc Brown, his friend and the inventor of the time-traveling DeLorean automobile, who helps Marty repair history and return to 1985. The cast also includes Lea Thompson as Marty's mother, Lorraine, Crispin Glover as his dad, George McFly, and Thomas F. Wilson as Biff Tannen. Now, again, we're going to pretend that this movie did not come out on July 3rd, 1985, but instead came out in the summer of 2020. Now, before we start debating, we're going to go a little around, give our quick thoughts about the movie overall, quick, 20, 30 seconds thoughts. So I'm going to go first. Back to the Future is one of my favorite films of all time. They say there's no such thing as a perfect movie, but Back to the Future is one of those few movies that you can say is a perfect movie. I believe it is a screenplay that should be studied in screenwriting classes. There's so much good foreshadowing, so much good character development, so much well-written jokes. The chemistry between Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd is just magnetic. You believe it. You don't even question, like, why is this 1980s teenager and this eccentric scientist friends? They come from two opposite personalities, but you believe their friendship, you believe their chemistry, and everything all around just works as a great film. So, Kevin, want to share your thoughts on Back to the Future?
Yeah, I echo what you said. I think that Back to the Future is one of those rare, perfect movies, along with several other classics like Goonies, Die Hard, could go on and on. But I think Back to the Future is very special in a lot of people's hearts because I don't know why this is, but in a lot of the cases of like film buffs like myself, they'll always cite Back to the Future as one of those first few movies that their parents showed them as kids. So I think a lot of people hold Back to the Future in a really warm place in their hearts. So this is going to be a very difficult task to recast this movie today with how we have this so ingrained in all of our memories. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Danny, want to share your thoughts?
So I actually didn't watch this movie until high school. We were doing Future Day for Spirit Week, and I thought it'd be funny to do Back to the Future instead of all the silver chrome stuff people were doing. And then I had to watch the movie because we just didn't grow up with it in the house for one reason or another. And I really liked it, like, just as oh, this is a great, fun comedy. And I've seen it a handful of times since, including in prep for this. And just on most recent rewatch, I got to agree with you, Curtis, like, it's such a perfect kind of screenplay. And I texted my friend rewatching it earlier today, just said, that 30 minutes is beautiful setup. It just sets up all of the themes, all of every little action. And, I've been thinking a lot about construction of screenplays. I've got Save the Cat over here, reading it for the first time, for whatever it's worth. And, like, you can see all these little elements that go into like the craft of like, oh, how we need this on a pure functionary level, but it like still also just feels organic to the story, which like, so on a technical level, beautiful. And then I do think like, so I didn't watch it as a kid, so someone else can speak to it, but I think it is a movie that probably appeals to you when you're pretty young, because it's not there's not anything too adult. There's like a little language and I guess there is some sensuality to it. Like, yeah, just a little. But like you can still watch it when you're like, 8 or 9, and it does feel like something your parents can get the same amount of enjoyment in. So like it's one of those things that makes you feel a little more adult, and just it's one of those, the themes are universal and it's gonna just age perfectly.
Well, Universal did make this movie, so it's appropriate. Travis, want to share your thoughts?
So when I think of Back to the Future, I just think, first off, it's fun, it's crazy, it's everything. Like, I never saw it I wish I saw it when it came out, because that's a really good popcorn movie to just sit back and say, wow, like, I'm a car guy, to see the DeLorean and just see everything about it that's just so technological, and you think like, being in the 80s, if you can, I'm one of those people where I always think back with any Universal film, if I sat in that to see a car with all that technological gadgets, and then you only had to go 80 miles an hour to go to Back to the Future itself. I always found that to be very cool. But I love Christopher Lloyd because the dude's amazing, Rasputin and everything. So to see everything that he does, just to see his enthusiasm, there's love parts here and there. It's just everything about the scenery, the madness, the explosions, fighting. It's a good popcorn movie. That's what I break it down to, and that's what I like about Back to the Future.
All right, Logan, want to share your quick thoughts?
Sure. Everyone said a lot of them, and Back to the Future it's a purely fun movie. I grew up watching big bombastic adventure films like The Mask of Zorro, and this was the first time I saw something that I would qualify as an adventure that was also fun. Like, it showed that you could have an adventure that was purely based on comedy and on character connection, and all of that mixed in this really like sound bit of sci-fi. Like all the stuff with the DeLorean, all of those little details play together really well, and especially as it kind of builds as a trilogy. So yeah, Back to the Future is one of those. It's always kind of stayed as a consistent favorite of mine. I've always wanted to see something new with it, but it's hard to kind of do anything that isn't involving that original. So this will be a tricky one to that.
Erik, how about you?
Back to the Future is one of those films that just breaks a lot of rules, and we still remember it today. Oh, so many rules. It went for the Lorraine and the Marty, and we had to go with it. We're like, is the mother really coming on to his son? But it was hilarious. They played with it. Yeah, Disney turned them down. A certain company turned them down, but other companies were like, well, it's funny. And Lea Thompson said she went with it. But everyone was going with it. Everyone looked like they were having fun. And is there anything in that movie that isn't iconic? We all want a DeLorean. I want a DeLorean. I wish I could go Back to the Future, but just for the hell of it, I want to drive it and hope it doesn't break down like the one on the Goldbergs does. But it is one of those movies that you just watch over and over again, and you also learn something new every time, even if it's a small, insignificant detail, because I forgot about the Calvin Klein thing. I forgot about like certain jokes. I'm like, oh my God, now I get that after all these years. But sometimes when you're a kid, especially in some Pixar or Disney movies, you see like a joke and you just don't think of any of it as a kid, but you see them as an adult, you're like, that's brilliant. And it is, as you've all said, it is the perfect screenplay.
Okay, last but not least, Jeremy, share your quick thoughts.
Personally, I hate this movie so much. No, just kidding.
I wish you had rolled with that. For like
Jeremy, you should be.
I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to keep it going for as long as I did. Well, first of all, like in my daily life, I think I'm always looking for a reason to say where we're going, we don't need roads. Come on. Like, even if it's not even if it's like nowhere close to the conversation, I'll still try to bring it up. But I think this movie has probably top 10 greatest joke of all time. And I like to think it was because like they made this movie just to make the Ronald Reagan joke. And I think that they could remake it today just because, and no offense to anybody who supports Trump. I don't know if that's any of us. But
You can totally make a joke out of that.
yeah, I think they can make it today because they can make that joke again. And Marty can be like, dude, I'm from the future. And then Doc would be like, oh, yeah, well, who's the president? And he'd be like, Donald Trump. And he'd be like, what, the personality?
The guy with Home Alone 2?
What's that, Apprentice guy?
Yeah, right? And I think that would be like the reason to, like, because I always thought, like, you could never remake this movie. But then when he was elected president, I was like, now it's time to remake
president again.
I had that thought too, rewatching it this morning, because like part of my favorite joke about that is it doesn't just stop. Christopher Lloyd just keeps going, and he's like gonna fill out and I like wish they just let him fill out the whole cabinet. But like if you half of it would
speak for the House. Who?
So I'd like to think that they made the movie just for that joke. I think they do that a lot, like that movie Monster Trucks. Like they're probably like, let's make a movie with monsters and trucks, and then we'll call it Monster Trucks. You know. I think that's why they – also, I think this movie is like – because Robert Zemeckis makes awesome movies, but people don't – I feel like they don't get as much credit, like the Welcome to Marwin and The Walk. I think those movies are awesome, but like they don't make a lot of money at the movies, and that's usually what gets directors like more stuff. But because he made Back to the Future and Forrest Gump, he can like do whatever he wants for the rest of his life. Because he gave it.
Yeah, I think
Final cut.
He's gonna do the live action Pinocchio for Disney, so there's that. All right, so as we said before, we're going to pretend this movie was never made and it was released in 2020. Now, how this is going to go is that each round will cast a different character, and the winners of each round will come up with will be our assembled cast of Back to the Future 2020. Okay, so are our debaters ready? Danny, Erik, Travis, y'all ready? Ready to do this?
on my list right here.
All right, so let's cast to the future, everybody. All right, so first character we're going to cast is Stanford S. Strickland, who is the hard as nails principal of Hill Valley High School in both 1955 and in 1985. Now, how it's going to work is that I'm going to make each three of you make your at least minute-long statements of why your preferred actor should be Strickland, and then we'll go into the debate. So, Danny, if you start us off, who do you got as your Strickland?
I have John C. McKinley, famous as Dr. Cox on Scrubs. And he's just a guy who you can just throw in anywhere. And I don't know if anyone else has been listening to the Scrubs podcast. I've been listening to it a little bit. But, like, they talk about how he's a guy who he'd come in, like, just one line, even on movies, and he would bring the same amount of, like, effort as if he was the lead in something. So, you know, we got a small role, but memorable, crucial. You want to make an impression. So I want to get a guy who can just come in and he's just going to nail it. I don't know if there's anyone who's delivered a rant as well as John C. McKinley in anything. Like, just YouTube any Scrubs rants with Dr. Cox, and the man is just a poet with words. He's a poet with delivery. He knows how to like land and emphasize every little detail so well without it being too showy or too big. I could see him as a principal too, as someone who is in charge, very tough on people, but like is that kind of just, you know, educator, that leader. So, you know, I'm all about, he's one of my favorite character actors. Anytime I see him in anything, I'm like, there's our guy. There's Dr. Cox. And frankly, he should be in more things. Just should put him in everything.
All right, Danny. Erik, who do you got as your Strickland?
I have Stanley Tucci as my Strickland. For me, I feel like name an actor who is memorable in absolutely everything that he does, and Stanley Tucci comes to mind a lot of those times. He can be a teacher, and this is actually during the quarantine. He has been making YouTube videos teaching people how to make cocktails. He seems very good as a teacher, but he can also be very, very, very funny, especially in like Devil Wears Prada, or my favorite role of all time of his is probably Easy A as Olive's father. And he can be like a bit passive aggressive, but real with you, like he is in Devil Wears Prada, or absolutely horrifying, like he is in The Lovely Bones. He just has that range. He can do whatever. He's just a very talented actor. Like, I wasn't sure about like the casting in the beginning, but he was just for The Lovely Bones, but he was just so good in that movie. I'm like, wow, and he got an Oscar nomination. But not saying he's going to get an Oscar nomination for this movie, but no matter how big or small of a role Stanley Tucci has, you always remember him. And he can bring freshness and fun to every role that he plays, even if he's a straight-laced individual like Strickland. And also the man is like ageless. So I believe he could age like 30 years and look exactly the same. And I guess, I know the original movie didn't come out, but I guess I want to keep the man bald.
All right,
So
thanks, Erik. Travis, what do you got for your Strickland? Hold on, you're muted.
All right, can you hear me now? Good. For my Strickland, I have Ed Harris. Now I'm going to say that name one more time. Ed Harris. Apollo 13, The Firm, pretty much anything this man touches. He's a guy who anything he touches can literally turn to gold. He's good at being firm. He can go on the gas hard, but then he can also kind of lay off it if he has to and still kind of be in control of any scene that he's in. If you've seen him in Glengarry Glen Ross, he's also very good there. He knows his stuff in that. So I think I have to go off of what Erik said too here. He mentioned bald. The guy's bald too, and he's got the good scalp for it. But Ed Harris is the guy who, when it comes to firmness, that's the one I'm going with. It's Strickland right there. Firm, and he's in perfect control of his scenes.
All right. So, Travis, Erik, Danny, debate amongst yourselves.
All right.
All right.
I'll stir the pot a little bit. I like both your choices. Both are great actors. Both I want to see in anything. I am all about Tucci. All about that Tucci. The thing is, both those choices, guys, they're both two big actors. They're both Oscar nominees. Ed Harris, probably should have won 2 or 3 times in the 90s for the mention.
Mm-hmm.
My thinking is, it's not a tiny role. There are no small roles, only small actors. But this isn't as huge a role. And when you cast either of those two guys, I think it almost distracts from the rest of what's going on. That would be my case of why. I think Tucci, you could probably get away with it more. But I think if you cast Ed Harris, you have to do a whole thing with Ed Harris. He has to discipline Marty in both timelines. You have to expand that role. And I would want it I want it for Tucci too. But we all agree, it's a perfect screenplay. We don't need to expand that role. It's just you need the guy. He comes in. He's the angry principal. We know what he's like.
Oh, no.
So that's my argument. And you just want someone in. You want a character actor who's just gonna come in, knock it out of the park, and then it's not gonna distract. You're not gonna be wanting the rest of the movie to go, oh, where's Tucci? Where's Ed Harris? No.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ed Harris is a little too big of a name, and he does play roles you just you're going to remember him, and he will distract from the rest of the movie. And John C. McKinley, I got to admit, that is an amazing choice because he needs that role big time. But he's played that character for a long time. So, people will recognize him just like Stanley Tucci and Ed Harris. But Tucci, he could have a small role in a movie. He was even in Beauty and the Beast, the remake. And the role was written for him. I feel he made just as much of an impact. And I feel even he can make a small enough impact where maybe he has like a really small role. It depends how they approach the script. I don't know how they're going to approach it today. But Tucci is good at like having like for a cameo performance. I feel like he can, but he makes it memorable enough for like, oh, I remember that guy Strickland. Not just for the fun of saying his name, but just because Tucci was so good at like disciplining Marty. And Tucci, we're also used to him being like a little bit more like on the happier side, maybe zany, but seeing him on strict side, it might be a different role for him.
So for me, I know you mentioned, just for my guy that I've chosen here, you guys mentioned how Ed Harris would probably distract. I mentioned one film earlier that he was in Glengarry Glen Ross with Al Pacino. Okay? Now, for Al Pacino, okay, now every time he's in that film, I wouldn't find, and maybe this is just from my point of view watching him, that I thought, oh, well, just because Ed Harris is in it, he's not taken away from the fact that Pacino was still, going in and taking his shots too. Another film that I mentioned earlier in this was The Firm. Ed Harris was with Tom Cruise, who, again, that overlaps him in the same sense here. So I think if I get that Ed Harris being the A-list guy he is, I don't know if he would take away from the whole thing itself, because I think he's a guy. I think he's a good team player in this sense. That's the way I viewed his films in the past. I think he can really.
Tucci, so is John C. McKinley.
Tucci, yeah, Stanley Tucci too. And what was the other one mentioned? The other, who was
John
the
C.
other?
McGinley?
Yes, John C. McGinley. I mean, that's great too. I mean, that guy. That's I find them both perfect. I just think when you guys think back to Tucci, perfect. Tucci could come right in, do his thing, and then leave.
Yeah, he'd be there for 2 days, be like, okay, I'm done.
2 days, and he's good. And I think that's the same thing with most of our guys we've chosen. I don't think they would mind to go in. It's not, it's not like it's, hey, get my, car fired up so I can go to my next movie. I think they're very dedicated to their craft enough where they would say, okay.
Yeah, they all bring 110%.
Exactly. So I don't think they would want it to be just about themselves, but about the work.
Sure. I get that. It is just a very one-dimensional part, would be my counter to that. Where he is just this kind of antagonist who is just meant to be that annoying principal, that annoying authority figure we have. And again, I think the bigger the name, it's not even an ego thing. It's like if you're gonna do that, you're gonna want that in. You want like more of a comeuppance for him. Like you want to like have Marty like get back at him in some way at school in any way. But like really, he's just a guy that needs to blend in. And I think you gotta just get someone a little small, a little character actor. He's just someone who like audiences, they might have a familiarity with. We all mostly know McGinley because he was on Scrubs and he's a character actor. But like that's kind of the thing though, is like I think like if my dad or my mom were to watch this movie, they would maybe know who he was because they caught a couple episodes of Scrubs. Or they're like, oh, it's that guy. But like we know who Ed Harris is, You brought up Glengarry and you brought up The Firm, but that's 92, that's 93. That's like before he was really Ed Harris, Like he's Houston, he's not that. He doesn't say Houston, we have a problem. He is Houston though.
Yeah, he is Houston. He is control.
Like he's Kristoff and like
Truman Show. I mean,
right.
So big. Yeah, that's. I think you need someone who's just gonna come in, and they're not gonna distract. Someone you like, someone you maybe recognize, and not someone you want like just to like see again and again.
Yeah, I also think Tucci, like he's also, I think like you might even wear, like you saw him in Hunger Games. He's willing to put on a lot of makeup. He's willing to like completely hide his face.
Yeah.
He's like willing to like. He's kind of reminds me of like certain actors or actresses that like they don't care what they look like on screen. They just want to deliver the performance. And Tucci, I feel like would even like put on like a full-on mask of like a guy's bald as Dr. Evil and like still give the same performance. He dedicates himself that much to it. But even if it's like a small little role, it doesn't really matter to him. That's why I love that saying. There's no such thing as small parts, only small.
Right.
But he acts like he's the biggest actor in the movie, but it's for such a small. He can bring a lot of life even to a small cameo. Like everyone still remembers Michael Cera's cameo, and this is the end. So
let me just
like,
bring up this.
we didn't think that was going to happen,
Oh,
but
yeah. That is like a part where they almost deliberately wrote that of like, we're just going to have Michael Cera take over the movie. And like, it's just designed that way. And it's beautiful. I just rewatched that like 2 months ago.
I can't wait for this.
Yeah, it's like, that's one of the beautiful things. And like, yeah, it's just like,
yeah, it'll remind me of that.
you know, balancing things. It's like, you know, when you're cooking, you're making a stew, you know, you got to balance all the ingredients, all the spices just right. You don't want to overpower it. You don't want to put too much garlic in because then it's going to overpower some of the other flavors. I mean, I would. I'm Italian. We put garlic on everything. But, like, still, you got to, like, just know where to play everything, how to have the right level just in there.
And to be in there for the long run, which I think, like, all three actors can do. But Tucci also stuck with the Hunger Games for as long as he did.
True.
That's dedication.
Yeah, and but like, you know, Hunger Games, he gets to do like something interesting, you know? Like he has like this thing where he gets to comment on it all, and then he gets to do these
Be mean to the lead. Who doesn't get to? That's fun.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying.
Bigger.
You're making something like that's like kind of, I'd say his role is he's known as is like he's like the standout supporting player in a bunch of really cool smart films or sometimes just Oscar-y movies. Like last thing I really like think about Harrison was he was John McCain in a Game Change. Right. Flick, and he's great in that.
Okay, guys. My computer froze out for a bit. I don't know what's wrong with my webcam, but at least you can still hear me. We have to wrap this round up pretty quick. So if Travis, if you can make one quick final 15 statement, because I think we heard a lot from Erik and Danny, but Travis want to say something real quick for 15 seconds just to help your case.
Oh yeah, I think my guy, in the end, I think Ed could not distract, and I think he's good enough where he can put people into the theater itself and just shoot his shot and be good.
Okay. All right, that was a good round, everyone. Okay, first, I think everyone had good arguments. I think that all the actors who chose, I think I could see really well as Mr. Strickland. I love Danny. Talk about McKinley, how he's a poet with words. He's great with rants. He's a smaller character actor, so he's not one of the ones that you could recognize the best. And then Travis, I love your Ed Harris choice. He has a lot of credibility behind him. He does have a lot of legacy. You talk a lot about the firm and Glengarry Ross. And even though they argued against you that Ed Harris was too big, I like that you said that he was in other movies with bigger actors, and he stood out, but he wasn't overshadowing the bigger stars that are in his films. And then with Erik Stanley Tucci arguments, I love what you said about Stanley Tucci could believably play a teacher. He's diverse in roles. Whatever costume or makeup you put on him, he's just going to work with that. I love how you brought up his Lovely Bones performance. But I really like how you said that he makes a performance memorable, but he's not too distracting. And to be honest, I think that's what won me over. I think I want to go with Erik's decision for Stanley Tucci. I think he brought the best qualities to the table about why Stanley Tucci is such a great actor, why he should be Strickland. Specifically, like the memorable but not distracting part of it. He's big, but he's not too big that he would be distracting. He's just perfect to play that type of minor role that Strickland is. So that would be that where I'd go with. Jeremy, what do you think?
Well, just want to reiterate how much I hate this movie. I think it's so dumb. Just like,
Dang it, Jeremy.
just kidding. I love this movie so much. First of all, I think everybody got the wrong answer. It should have been Triumph, the insult comic dog. I think it was the correct answer. But since nobody chose it, I'll have to pick out of the three that you guys. I think. I mean, wonderful choice. I think Ed Harris might be a little bit too big shot. I think it's like, I think you need to like, I think he would overshadow a few people. I'm sure he can, make it subtle, but not for this role. And I really loved, I was really leaning towards Stanley Tucci when you said it, but I think Danny's beard is just like really good. I think just the way he speaks and how his beard frames his mouth just made John C. McGinley seem a little bit better. No, I think you would love to see him in that role because you haven't seen him in a while. I like that that this is like something that he would like. If he was offered this role, he would go headstrong into it. And Stanley Tucci would, also be amazing. And I want to pick him, but Danny's beard just looks really nice. And also I like what he had to say
all the time.
and I miss seeing Dr. Cox. So. I also thought you were talking about the janitor at first, and I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah!" But
I'd watch that too.
I forgot that.
Really good, Strickland.
So,
Me too.
Jeremy's vote is for John C. McGinley.
Okay, Logan, what do you think?
I really like all of the different options in there. I think they all bring very different windows to the table. I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't love, if we continue the trilogy, seeing Ed Harris Strickland when we hit Back to the Future 3 and we're in the Wild West. That'd be a fun in-joke. I think Stanley Tucci would... Honestly, I love Tucci, but I've never been afraid of him. And maybe that's even with stuff with Lovely Bones. I don't know. I've never been afraid of the man. He's the Tooch. I don't know. Something about it. But at the end of the day, I do really like the John C. McGinley. I think he brings a really good dynamic. I think you would believe that he would be that complete hard-ass principal. I also think that and I realize this is the complete opposite of the visual we have of Strickland, but given the fact that McGinley is a much hairier man, seeing him with different facial hairstyles that he thinks he can pull off over the different eras seems like an extra layer to add to the ridiculousness that is Principal Strickland. So yeah, I think if I had to go for a vote between those three, I think I'd have to go for Danny's John C. McGinley.
All right, Kevin, how about you?
All right, so I just want to state outright, all three of you did a phenomenal job. Way to go with this first argument. We'll start with Travis's choice of Ed Harris. I think that would be crazy in a good way to see Ed Harris as Strickland, but at the same time, thinking about the way this is to be presented, that Back to the Future wasn't created in 1985, but it's going to be made and distributed in 2020, the role of Strickland isn't going to go to Ed Harris. There's no way. It's not like every role – I think Danny made a really good point. It's not like every role needs to be like the star of the film. Strickland kind of requires more of a character actor, which is why I'm in between John C. McGinley and Stanley Tucci. And the one thing I'll say before I make my pick is that for all three of you guys, don't be afraid. You guys are really nice guys. Don't be afraid to get a little mean about it. Go to the gut. You got to really try and argue against the other two people and what their choice is.
And don't be afraid to talk over each other. Don't be afraid to interrupt.
Yeah, give them hell.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm Canadian. Y'all don't have to act like Canadians right now. It's all good. Hang on 1 second. Sorry about that. Yeah, so my choice is going to be as well to John C. McGinley because I think Danny did a better job in his argument of telling me why Stanley Tucci and Ed Harris shouldn't be picked. Plus, I think knowing Cox on Scrubs as well as I do, he could be Strickland in a heartbeat. So and Stanley Tucci was a really close second, Erik, but I'm gonna make the decider and say John C. McGinley is gonna be Strickland.
All right, so I think we have a vote here. We got I got to vote Stanley Tucci. 3 of you chose John C. McGinley. So that said, John C. McGinley will be our Strickland for Back to the Future 2020. All right. So let's go over to the next rounds. Next, we are going to cast the role of Jennifer. Of course, Jennifer is the caring and the vocal and really loyal and girlfriend to Marty McFly, and is proud of him no matter what he does. So we're going to cast Jennifer Parker. So, Erik, who have you chosen for 2020's Jennifer Parker?
For Jennifer, this, I have to admit, was a tough one. Out of all the other characters, this might have been the hardest one to choose. I chose Joey King. She's had over 61 credits to her acting career, and one of her latest projects is literally one of the most disturbing miniseries I've ever seen, called The Act. But before that, Joey has worked a little more lighthearted, and that was the show Fargo. Year before that, she's like worked a lot of memorable films, but my favorite of hers, and you might not remember her, but I do, Crazy Stupid Love. And that was a film where she got to work with Steve Carell, Emma Stone, Julianne Moore, Kevin Bacon, and he was new to comedy, but she worked with Ryan Gosling. And not much later in her career, she did The Act. That's like a very big range. And the latest film she just did, which I think kind of won me over for her as Jennifer, was her in the movie The Kissing Booth on Netflix. And she was the star of that film, and she just played awkward so well. And I think if we want to go for 2020 in a realistic relationship, like we saw with Tom Holland and Zendaya and Spider-Man, it was a bit of an awkward relationship, but it was real. And I feel like Joey, whoever she has for Marty, I feel like she can bring that awkwardness to the role, but also a sense of like realism. And she would have like a lot of fun, but also she's worked very well with ensembles, and Back to the Future is an ensemble piece. And she has the range to make us laugh and also capture our hearts at the same time. And I think like she's another actress that could like on the long run could be in the sequels as planned, if possible.
All right, Travis, who you got for Jennifer?
All right, so from Jennifer, for mine, drum roll please, Annie Murphy. Now, you might not, many people might have heard of her. She is from a show known as Schitt's Creek, popular on Netflix, and it's a very funny show. Now, she plays a character in that show that is very, she plays what I would call the ditzy Beverly Hills kind of very rich blonde girl, for just to say it better in that form. And she is engulfed in her character in this 20-minute show itself. She's deep. She's honest to her part. You know, Erik, you mentioned the character, the actress you chose about believability. She really gets into character. And I think if she were to go into this role, into the Back to the Future of 2020, she would be just like a shoe. It would fit perfectly. She would get into the part no problem. On top of that, she would be able to flow with each cast member as well. She's known to work with cast very well. But Annie Murphy from the Canadian show Schitt's Creek, best actress, and that is her, Jennifer.
All right, Danny.
Okay, so I went with, and I was watching how she said her name before this started, so I hope I get this right. Materi Rama Krishnan, who you all might know from her debut role on Never Have I Ever, the Netflix show, if anyone's watched it. She's the lead, and she plays a high school girl, and kind of a high school version of the co-creator, Mindy Kaling. So she brings this kind of wild, crazy energy, but like it's still tempered. It's still, for someone who like has not, broken, hasn't been, that's her first like real huge role for an unknown. She has such a command of screen presence, and she has such a great natural ability of just to be in scenes with people and to work with other people, and just and she's so funny and so funny And this is a smaller role. Like I said, I don't know, small roles, only small actors. Yeah. But like, I want to like, use this role that isn't as hugely impactful. Like you remember her, but it's not as big a plot point to give it to someone, who's still up and coming, still, making their way in the industry. And I think she's such a great actress. I just want to see her in something. So it's like, let's put her in here. Let's put a little dab of her here. She's going to come in. She has like, 2 scenes, really, maybe 3. And she's just going to knock it out of the park for all of them. I believe in her.
Okay, guys, debate.
So.
All right. Kevin wants us to go at it. Travis, Annie Murphy's too old.
I completely agree, man.
I love her. I love her so much.
Too.
I've only watched like half of Schitt's Creek, but she's funny.
It took place in college, I believe, her as Jennifer, not in high school. Sorry.
Yeah, she's got, I don't know. She's too old. I don't think I could. Like, I have a pick later down where I'm like reaching a little, but like this one, I can't see her as younger than like 30. And it's partly because of the association with Schitt's Creek, where she plays like this, like kind of like 20, late 20s, let's say, social life.
Yeah.
You can't go back, man. What we learned at Return of the King, you can't go home.
I have to say I respect that answer, but here's the thing. That's the beauty about makeup in films, okay?
Okay.
The beauty about films. What? I'm sorry, what'd you say, Eric?
I said, okay, here we go.
So here's the thing. You put on that thing called makeup and use that thing called lighting, and what happens?
She still
looks 33-year-old, because that's, I mean, if we have to go all the way to San Diego, wherever it is, to use that CGI stuff to make it work, we could do that too. But here's the thing. You mentioned she's she's up and coming throughout. She's 33, yes. I mean, this isn't the NBA or anything. It's not like she couldn't play with the other people. She can play. 33, yeah, but there's a lot of actresses from, you talk about Disney Channel, everything else. Some of those actors are probably 29 or so that look like they're freaking 18.
That was the time they were able to get away with it. Today, it's getting, like, especially for, like, Never Have I Ever, like, those kids actually look like they're in high school. And also same thing with even Spider-Man, the latest Spider-Man. They look like they're in high school. They don't look like 30-year-old Tobey Maguire trying to say he's 17.
Yeah. Right, but are they – good point, but they –
even the kids on Glee, they don't get older than, like, 25. Or, like, they're, like, kind of within a range. They're playing high schoolers.
Yeah.
I think it's not only, like – it's not just, like, her looks. Because, like, I don't know. I would say beautiful woman. Very. Can we agree? Beautiful on top of being incredibly talented and hilarious. But, let's go to another movie real quick. That is The Irishman. Love it. Great movie. They can do de-aging. They can make those people look younger. But what was one of the big complaints was there were just some moments you couldn't avoid. Yeah, I see what you're doing, Eric. Stomping.
That's it, yeah.
Can avoid.
Sound effects not adding up, but we'll get to
something they talked about in Captain Marvel is like, wow, it looks like Samuel L. Jackson from Die Hard 3, just time traveled.
Yeah.
But then he runs upstairs and you're like, no, that is 70-year-old Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
I think at some point, some people just bring a certain energy, bring a certain layer of themselves to it that you can't escape how old they feel. And partly because of the only association we have with Anne Murphy, I just don't see her going back. And also, like, she's huge.
Women mature faster than men.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But still, I
gotta go. I'm sorry. I have to press that button.
Anyway, but
that's fine. But she just, I don't know. I see her on Schitt's Creek, and she seems in her early 30s, and I would want to see. And I think if she's in a movie, she has to be playing like in the late 20s, early 30s era. Like, I don't think she can pull off high school.
So here's the thing: when I take out age, it's interesting that age is the factor here, because when I'm looking for if you're casting an actress, right? I mean, she's gorgeous, yes. So you got the screen presence there while watching, but you also have a person who could put on the shoes instantly, and they can instantly drive the car. They are the part. Yeah. And she's a person that on Schitt's Creek can do that, and as I know she's new, but here's the deal: she can do it. There's no question she can do it. You put her in the driver's seat, boom, gone. You want to be with someone that's able to work with everybody. As far as
still gotta look like they're in high school, and I choose Joey because she has looked the same for the last 10 years. Even the act, she's supposed to be like 15.
Well, Joey is only like 20, right?
Yeah, but she looks like she can look a lot younger. She kind of reminds me of Zendaya.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. I think Joey's a really great choice. I think Joey's really great. She's so.
But I feel like she's still not a big enough star yet. And maybe she had that Netflix movie, but I still feel like she's still working her way up. Yeah. But she just has worked with so many people. They probably taught her so much that got her to where she is. Yeah. But then if she goes back to the future and work with some of the cast members she's going to get even more experience and then have a role that's perfect for her.
Joey's too
Jennifer,
short.
I think it's just another stepping stone.
Joey's a great actress. And here's the thing. We're talking about film industry here. So here's what I'm going to break it down to. She's too short. Joey King. Right?
Short for
Joey
what?
King's
I'm just
too
trying to
short,
ask you, short for what?
Short, she's short. I'm talking
high school.
She's in high school, so she's short. So what?
To be fair, Melora Hardin, who Jan from The Office, was cast in the role in the 80s when it did exist in the 80s. And they had because either she was like the height disparage between either her and her and Michael J. Fox or her and Eric Stoltz. I forget the whole story, but she was like cast at one point. So you bring up a point, but I do say she's too short. Anne Murphy isn't too old.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that because I'm not saying because Muggsy Bogues is playing that she's not good. It's like she's great actress, but here's the thing. If we're not talking about age, Annie's a little bit taller. Mind you,
still not good. Your point.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Never Have I Ever, so I wish I had a better argument of why the actress you chose, Danny, isn't perfect for the role. I've followed like Joey King's career for a long time, especially seeing her in Crazy Stupid Love, but also that movie, she also you don't see her face until the big twist with Emma Stone. Has everyone seen Crazy Stupid Love?
Yes.
Yeah.
You never see her face. So she was willing to take like that artistic decision to not show her face the entire time. So while she's in a lot of the movie, you don't really see her. But she's willing to go with it no matter what director or other cast member she worked with.
And she's China Girl doll in, what's it called? Oz, right? Yeah, she's China Girl doll in that?
Yeah, I believe so. She says an adorable.
Great. Oh, I have nothing against the pick of Joey King. She's great. You're making a lot of good points. I see. I just say with my girl Materi, Materi.
Love her name.
She brings diversity to the cast. I know we've only cast one other person, but get a little diversity in there. It's good. It's 2020. Let's be progressive. It's just it's kind of the same thing for me with Strickland, where this is kind of a small role. You just want someone who's just gonna be kind of come in, day player, just kind of knock it out. And I want to give another opportunity to someone who literally just got her debut, someone playing a high school, and it's let's just see what she can do. Let's just throw her a few, pitches.
So this sounds like the Battle of Canada right here, because we got Annie Murphy from Canada and Materi's from Canada too.
Oh yeah.
So here's the deal.
So
I love what you said there for it being 2020. That's great for sure. But at the end, it's the same thing for Annie Murphy. Coming up, I get that she's 33, because that's 33, I guess, in 2020 is the new 86. But
I'm not saying that. It's just that's a bit of it's also just her specifically. I'm sure there are people like that it would be less of a stretch for. But for me, when I see our girl Annie, who I love, who I would get a like, let's put her in a rom-com like Palm Springs or something. Not that I would take that away from Kristen Milioti. But like, I don't think she could go back and play 18. And the way she carries herself, the way she is, the way she looks, beautiful woman, incredibly talented. I want to see her in more stuff. I can't see.
Materi, I find Materi fantastic too, but it's just I think I got to put us in gridlock here, like in when we're driving on the freeway. But I think she could by far play 18, and I am gonna stick by that. So,
Okay.
Yeah, but
all right. It sounds like we're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a good round. Whoa, this is such a good round. You guys brought a lot of arguments. And exactly what we want from this show. Now, I'm gonna go. First of all, with Annie Murphy. Travis, I loved how much you defended your girl. How much statements you made. How much credibility she has. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with Erik and Danny. I think he's just her age. I think she's just a little bit too old to play a high school student. It'd be a little bit kind of distracting, but nonetheless, Travis, you did really good in this debate, this round. And as with Materi, I love Janet Ubrad that she brings wild, crazy energy to her performances, and that she's like a little Mindy Kaling, and that sounds really, really exciting. I love that. But I gotta go with Erik's pick of Joey King. I think he brought a lot more examples to the table. Everything from like Crazy Stupid Love and other projects she's in, and the fact that she could work along well with big names, and she stands her own ground in performances. I really like their argument. So my vote would go with Erik's choice for Joey King. Jeremy, what say you?
It's really important to bring up how dumb this movie is and how much I hate it. It's just,
it is true. It is true.
Running joke.
No thought went into making this movie at all. Once again, I mean, like, amazing job, but you guys did get it wrong. The answer was Meg from Family Guy. Her animated self should play this role. And I love Annie Murphy because I just finished watching Schitt's Creek. And I actually really wanted to vote for her. I thought it was a great choice. And I really did love Danny's passion. Your passion and your beard. Your beard hasn't changed, so that was a tough one to choose. But I think Erik's argument for Joey King won me over. I loved the whole how I love the kissing booth. I'm so excited for the kissing booth too. And she can be really awkward, and she can also be really serious in the movies and the other movies that she's done. And I love that bit about how you said that she can be awkward, what an actual relationship would probably be like in high school. And I thought it was like their relationship in Back to the Future is a little awkward at some points because they're kids and they're in love, and that's weird because they're small. I don't think all right, Joey King.
Hey, Jeremy chose Erik's choice. Logan, what do you think?
Well, again, yeah, I think everyone made some good arguments. I'm gonna start with Travis. Yeah, I got to mirror kind of what other people are saying. I do think that Annie Murphy is too old. And to then turn around and go, well, Joey King is too short, seems like a weird counter argument to go with. I did kind of look. While she is on the short side, she's an inch shorter than I am, and yeah. Anyway, so But I think that worrying about a size discrepancy on Jennifer doesn't matter as much until you know who your Marty is. So that's an issue where it's like, if it, at least for me, it's not going to factor in too much with choosing on Jennifer here. What's odd is that I haven't seen a lot of these actresses in other things. Actually, I haven't seen two of them at all. I will admit I have not seen Schitt's Creek, and I have not seen Materi. Let me make sure I say it right too. Rama Krishnan. I have not seen her in anything yet. But I have seen Joey King in a few things. And the one thing I do notice whenever she does a part is that she tends to bring an innocent warmth to her, where she always just feels like you're like, oh, she seems friendly, she seems nice, and that's always a big feeling that comes with Jennifer. We don't get many scenes with her, but you see immediately why Marty is fighting to get back to. So I think of the arguments that presented here, yeah, I think I got to go with Erik's choice of Joey King for Jennifer.
All right, so I think that vote's obvious. Joey King has 3 from me, Jeremy, and Logan. So Joey King will be our Jennifer for 2020 Back to the Future. All right.
All right, Kevin.
You know what? It's all good. I'll send my vote to Annie Murphy because I think she's plenty young enough. It's all good, Travis. It's all good. Plus, I can't in good conscience vote for someone who I've never seen before. And after hearing what you say, Danny, I'm going to go watch Never Have I Ever.
Yeah,
but
go watch it.
I will. But that being said...
What else are you doing?
So many things.
I do want to just side note real quick. This is another one, kind of the Strickland thing, small role. So I almost was going to make my argument for Francesca Hayward, just because her first movie's Cats. Let's throw her a bone. Like, I don't know. She can do
Fair
it.
point. She can use escape from that Ramsey.
All right. Next role, we're going to cast the villain of the movie, Biff Tannen, who was played by Thomas L. Wilson in the original film, the bully of Hill Valley High in 1955, continues to be George Mcfly's bully into the future as adults. So let's start with Travis. Who do you got for your Biff Tannen?
Well, so for my Biff, I got Jon Favreau from, you probably remember him best. I remember him best through Rudy. He's been in pretty much everything, as well as Iron Man as well. I think that's a guy, when we're talking about Biff, we're talking about a big guy here. Big, scary, tall, big guy. I think Jon is a perfect fit for him. He played, for me, my favorite movie was Rudy. So he played a really down to earth guy. I think he can notch this right up and play a real tough dude. I think it'd be nice to see him extend even more with his characters. And I think he is the perfect fit for Biff. That's my short thing there on him.
Okay, thanks, Travis. Danny, who do you guys Biff?
Literally only one option, Jimmy Tatro, who we know from probably most famously, I'd say, if not his YouTube stuff, is American Vandal, which he plays the bully with kind of a kind heart. So, like, I will fully admit this is a little bit easy casting, but he is so funny. He is just such a different kind of comedic energy that is so specific. The way he talks, he can just very easily slip into the I'm the dumb bully kind of guy that's pushing around Mcfly, that he's looking at yes, he is in 22 Jump Street, Jeremy. He's in he was in what's it called last year? Stuber, if you guys saw. But like he's a really great, again, if we're gonna quit to cooking again, you just throw him in. He's great seasoning. He can bring it all. He's exactly what you want out of a bully character. And I had like dozens of options for almost everyone else. For him, it was literally it's Jimmy Tatro. There's no one else I want to see in that role.
All right, Erik, go.
My choice for Biff is Lucas Hedges. He's one of those few actors that has been in different in nearly every film I've seen him in. He started his career playing an antagonist in Moonrise Kingdom. He was the guy who gets cut by the scissors. And then later in mid-90s, he got a chance to work with Jonah Hill, and he was quite an intimidating bully to his own brother, his younger brother. And he was able to work with Jonah Hill, who probably taught him a lot about like comedic timing and like working with like even younger actors than him. Sorry, that's my dog in the background. But he also he worked with Greta Gerwig and Lady Bird, and the kid was also very fearless in fighting his own father in 3 Billboards. He got to work with Frances McDormand and John Hawkes, and they worked together so well in that scene that he's unforgettable. It's not just John Hawkes and Frances McDormand. You remember Lucas being there. It could have been something that, and also, of course, can't forget him, Manchester by the Sea. Thank you very much. But if there was like a subplot like where Biff was like held back like a grade or two, and like they never mentioned this in the original film, but it's something that could be there. That's why, because he's a tall dude. He's like, I think like 5'10", 5'11". So he's already very intimidating. But you can see him like being held back like a year or two, and you're like, okay, maybe I could see why he's like looking a little old there. But he is around the same age of my other picks. But at his height, I feel like he'd also be used in like the long run, like his intensity as a villain after working with Frances McDormand, and he worked with an ensemble, and he really stuck out. Many ensembles.
Okay, fine. You guys debate it out.
So
Okay, Jon Favreau. Okay, maybe in the 80s he could have played that part,
Yeah,
but not now, man.
Okay,
now.
Travis, with your Ed Harris pick, with your Jon Favreau pick, I'm just saying this isn't the mid-90s. You know, this is 2020.
I get it's 2020.
Those are both great, amazing picks. This was 1995. Like I just watched.
10 years too late, man.
Favreau could totally do it. 25 years ago.
He played that kind of character before. Like he, what was that movie with I Love You, Man? He was kind of like a similar character.
That's like the adult, mellowed out version of.
Yeah. Maybe in like when he was like his swingers days, maybe he could have played Biff.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Back then, but yeah.
He's like, you're just wondering why this, like guy who works at the construction yard is bullying high school kids at that point.
Well, here's my whole thing. Before I prove you all wrong on that, let me just.
You have to get some Irishman tech in there.
I got to go down to Erik here. Erik, I'm gonna virtually shake your hand here before I get out the sword here and we start fighting. Here's the deal. You're a Lucas Hedges guy. I just wanted to say this. I was looking at. I just don't feel like. I don't feel like that's a guy that's gonna make you like cringe. He's a great actor, but he's not going to, like, when it comes to bullies, it's like, oh, well, I mean.
Have you seen mid-90s?
He's not mid-90s. Good point. But yet.
No, I meant mid-90s, the movie mid-90s, the Jonah Hill movie.
Yes.
And he actually scared me in that because I was scared for that kid. The brother was all he had, and the brother was beating the heck out of him every day. Or at least, like, there was a couple, like, it looked real. But the fact that's beside the point, but it was like he's willing to get into those roles. And also, I'm pretty sure a lot of it was improvised, knowing how Jonah Hill works. He's willing to, like, he can improvise certain things, I think bring even more nuance to the part than your choices. I love Jim Tatro. I love American Vandal.
Wow, rude to Jimmy.
But
to our boy. That's rude. I do want to say the thing about Lucas Hedges is he's a different kind of bully than the way Biff has at least been presented and like kind of is written.
I wish everyone was Thomas Wilson.
Huh?
I said I wish everyone was as big and intimidating as Thomas Wilson.
But
it would also be like a different type of bully, like especially like when people, if like we're making a movie today, I guess like a lot of villains are taking more of like a manipulative route. So I feel like
that is my like whole. Villain. You're getting into my argument of why Lucas Hedges doesn't work. He's the kind of villain he would be the kind of bully who's like kind of fucked up, has a weird sweet side to him, but is kind of small. Even if he like does kind of like build up a little, he's still gonna be kind of a lean dude. And he's more like the weird fucked up guy in the corner you're afraid of because like, oh, I don't want to get up.
Thank you for proving my John point right there. I love it.
I'm so sorry, Curtis.
Thank you so much.
He's more like, that like weird, like when I see bully, he's more the weird kid in the corner that you bring up mid-90s, he's intimidating someone a good deal younger than him.
I guess, yeah.
I want to go back to how
I feel like
Biff
it's very hard to cast, and we haven't casted our Marty and
Sure.
and George yet that he hasn't bullied. I would think of someone that would tower over somebody.
But
I feel like that would be
even
intimidating enough, even with some cool camera tricks.
Even in Three Billboards, part of the effect of that is that he's this kind of scrawny dude taking on his dad. What I want to say though, Biff, the way it's written and the kind of archetype that character is, he's the kind of guy that is someone who is always been bigger, so he's always just pushed on other people and used his strength against people. He's the kind of guy who's probably, I don't think they get into it in the movie, but he's probably like the linebacker or the quarterback. Like, he's gonna peak.
But Jon Favreau, I guess, is not a quarterback or look like anything like that, I guess, right?
The linebacker and the replacements.
Linebacker. I mean, here's...
can I just finish real quick? Sorry.
Yes,
Travis.
yes, absolutely.
He's the kind of guy who peaks early and only kind of gets by because it's such a small town. And I feel Jimmy Tatro captures that. And, like, again, I know it is kind of transplant from American Vandal, but he's this big, bulky dude. He kind of plays it dumb. And he can just get angry, though, I think. And he can be that intimidating guy. And he's that kind of archetype that I think Biff is written to be, is someone who's big, got by just because of that. Again, we do have to figure out casting for other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just is someone who's just going to use brute strength. And I
feel like Lucas could have learned that because he had to work with Russell Crowe before, and that guy's made a career out of brute strength. I feel like he learned in the movie Boy Erased.
Russell's a broad dude. Russell's
of that being a little more intimidating.
Gladiator. I just think Lucas Hedges is too lengthy.
I mean, I feel like if I put a banana out, Lucas Hedges is just gonna. I mean, he's just gonna wipe out somehow. I'm sorry.
You made great points. I do want to say that, Eric, you didn't quite win me over, but like I see your argument. I think it's a decent argument. But for this role, for this archetype, I want the big brute dude. And I don't think Lucas captures that. I think he captures a different kind of bully.
All right.
Yeah.
Guys, this is good round. Good arguments. Let's start with Kevin. Kevin, what do you think?
Very good arguments. I'll start real quick. Jon Favreau, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, Travis, but I think you might have been in the mindset of casting the older versions of like Biff and George and those characters, because then I could see Jon Favreau as the adult Biff beating up on George Mcfly, but you can't bring him back all the way to the 1950s where he's a teenager today, maybe in the 90s. Lucas Hedges and Jimmy Tatro, that's a battle. I am torn, but I think I have to go with Lucas Hedges, and the reason being is that we're starting to get into some of the main characters, so I don't mind the fact that Lucas Hedges has a little bit of star power to him at this point, so I'm fine with him being Biff. And I think if Back to the Future were made today, the kind of bully that they would depict is the kind that you saw in mid-90s that Lucas Hedges portrayed. I think Jimmy Tatro is more of like, hey, bro, you want to step outside? Come on. Like, and that's not really how bullies are depicted. They have a little bit more nuance to them nowadays. And if we were to time travel all these actors back to the 80s and make the movie, I think then Jimmy would probably be a better choice. But these are really two good, solid choices, but I'll put my vote to Lucas Hedges.
Okay, I'll go next. I don't think, I'll echo what everyone else has said. I don't think the Jon Favreau casting kind of works. I think Travis, you made a good argument for Jon Favreau, why he's such a great actor and why he does have a good build. But yeah, like what I forgot what said, that someone said, it'd be less like a high schooler picking on kids. It would be more like a construction worker randomly picking on high school kids. So I don't think that would fit. Eric, I love your argument about Lucas Hedges. Yeah, I think Lucas Hedges is a phenomenal actor. He can play very different roles. He's very diverse. He can be intimidating. He's worked with a lot of good people, big names. But the thing that makes me not pick Lucas Hedges is that I think what Danny's been saying is that he's too intimidating. You know, with Biff, he could be intimidating, but he's also got to be funny. He's also got to be he's also got to be a nimwit. And I don't really see Lucas Hedges playing that type of role. So with Danny, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Jimmy Tatro. And he can be really funny. He can play that dumb bully, and he can at the same time bring that intimidating presence. So I'm going to agree with Danny, and I'm going to choose Jimmy Tatro. Jeremy, how about you?
Oh, thank you for asking. First of all, Back to the Future, more like Back to the Drawing Board, because this movie, I mean, what's the point? Just kidding, it's amazing. Once again, like really amazing. But the answer was Tony the Tiger. I think he's just so tired of pumping up kids, making them feel powerful that he wants to bring them down in his career now. But these are Tony the Tiger's not an option. Yeah, I mean, I love Jon Favreau. I think I would love to see him play anything. But the thing is, even when he has played like the tough guy, for instance, 4 Christmases, when he was the MMA fighter and he was Vince Vaughn's brother, I don't know, he was still like, it's not like he's playing it that tough. It was more like it's a bit. And I feel like if he were to play this role, it wouldn't be that seriously. It would be, I mean, yeah, it would. I don't know, I'd rather see him play someone else. Not that he's more of I see him as a gentle giant instead of like the tough guy. The Jimmy guy, the YouTube guy, what's his name? Timmy?
Jimmy Tatro.
Thank you. I think he is really great, and I think he would be really. But I feel like in 2020 we're going in the direction where our villains are a little bit kind of like, I'm thinking of like Black Panther and Spider-Man: Homecoming. We kind of like in some ways side with we understand where they're coming from, and I think that's where this movie would go. I would hate Lucas Hedges, but also like feel like he had, I would also understand where he's coming from in a way. And I think that's where like the villains are going now. Like they're less one-sided. They're less like, I just want money and I just want to beat people up. And I think Lucas Hedges could be like, I want money and to beat people up, but also like have, he has more range to play a character where you might feel sorry for him for like a second. And I think that's where villains are going now in 2020. Does that make sense?
So you're choosing Lucas Hedges?
Lucas Hedges.
All right. Logan, how about you?
Well, yeah, I think some good arguments were made all around. I'll mirror kind of what everyone else was saying. Yeah, I think Favreau is definitely on the older side for the possibility of Biff. Lucas Hedges is kind of an interesting thing when it comes to the possibility of Biff. While I do agree that he is more of a different manipulative villain, if we are making this movie now and we're kind of flashing back, the 30 years or so into the past, that means we're going to high school. We're dealing with that in the 90s. And Jimmy Tatro, at his core, feels like a bully from the 90s, which feels like Biff. And while I do agree that more villains nowadays are leaning towards the intellectual side, like if Biff was Marty's villain in the present, I would say Lucas Hedges fits that role to a T. But if we're doing the stereotypical bully who messed with George back in the day, who's dumb enough that he's going to be outsmarted by a dude, a skateboard, and stationary manure constantly, Jimmy Tatro feels like a better fit for that. And I'd also be curious to see him go slightly monstrous as we get into Back to the Future 2 and seeing, not only Biff, but Griff and then Alt Biff and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, I think if I had to put a vote down, I would have to put it for Danny's choice of Jimmy Tatro.
Okay. Seems though we have a tie between Jimmy Tatro and Lucas Hedges. So how are we going to sell this? Simple game of rock, paper, scissors. So
I thought Travis should get the deciding word.
Time out.
All that. I'm like, are we going to solve this by rock, paper, scissors?
Hold on. Time out. I really liked what Logan had to say, and it kind of made me change my mind.
Well, if Jeremy's really changing his mind, that's all good, and I like what Logan had to say too. But I do think that going forward, maybe we should have like Travis make the deciding vote. Or
just whoever the third person.
Yeah.
that
Picks right third. Like
that makes sense. So
It's also
Travis,
important to look
Travis,
at
even though we didn't choose Jon Favreau, who do you think is better between Jimmy Tatro and Lucas Hedges?
I'd like to say before I vote one of you off the island, this was a great argument. But here's my choice. I gotta go with. Wait for it. Gotta think it over. I would say I gotta go with Jimmy. I'm sorry, Jimmy's the. It just works. I surrender. Where's my invisible white flag? Yes, Jimmy Tatro, I believe, should be the guy.
All right. So
Yes.
we got Jimmy Tatro as our Biff Tannen for Back to the Future 2020. All right, folks, guys. Let's try to quicken up our debates and our arguments because
I'm running out of time.
Yeah, 40 minutes to 7. So let's try to keep this as concise and as tight as possible. Yeah. All right. So next up, we are going to cast Lorraine McFly, Marty's mother, who, when Marty travels in 1985, falls in love with Marty. Kind of gets kind of awkward. But yet she is loving, she is kind, she is the love of George McFly's life. So let's cast Lorraine McFly. So, Danny, you go first.
This one was tough because there are so many great actresses right now, and I had a lot of names. I decided to go with Julia Garner, though. I really like Julia Garner. I've only seen her in The Assistant. I don't know if anyone else saw that. But she has this very quiet intensity. She does so much with just reactions, just her face, and sometimes like kind of the lack of. Like she's just able to internalize so much. And that's kind of a lot of Lorraine is like, I mean, she fawns over Marty, but like she is someone like is kind of quiet and like that's all a surprise to us. So like when she does kind of go over it, but it's still a quiet fawning. It's still, you know, like just fanning herself kind of thing. And I just think Julie Garner, I don't think she's had it. I haven't seen a whole lot of her stuff. I have not watched Ozark, so someone could, if like, yeah, Erik, Travis, feel free to try and totally throw off my argument just because of, well, if you've seen Ozark, she can't do it because XYZ. I'm just saying, I think she can bring this, like, that was something that stood out to me on the rewatch was how quiet Lea Thompson was. And I think Julia Garner captures it. I'd like to be able to see what she could do with comedy. It's a great actress. As an actor.
All right, Erik.
Okay. My choice for Lorraine is Florence Pugh.
Oh.
A lot of actresses have had a wonderful year in 2019, and Florence was definitely one of them. 3 examples: Fighting with My Family, Midsummer, and Little Women, just to name a few. In Little Women, she was working with actresses that must have taught her beyond anything, including Meryl Streep. And funny that Florence is the one who got the nomination and not Meryl Streep. And also she has Black Widow coming out next year. And all 4 of those characters are completely different. Like as so far as there anything she can't do, I bet she does a musical next year. But all 3 of the films in 1 year, and again, 3 different people. But in Little Women, it was like we were growing up with her. Because I think she started out in the film, she's supposed to be like 14 or 15. And Florence Pugh is 23. I don't know how much makeup they put on. I don't know, but she played it perfectly. But she grows up to that age. So when it comes to the aging, I feel like she could pull that off perfectly. Even if they put makeup on her, I feel like Florence has enough range, and with the amount of people that she has worked with, especially in Fighting with My Family, and working with like Stephen Merchant and Nick Frost and Vince Vaughn for comedic timing, and she was the star, still the star of that movie. But for like Little Women, we were able to grow up with her. So I feel like the aging, if she had to play someone in her 50s or 40s, I would believe it. And then if she had to go back to high school, I'd still believe it. And that is my argument.
Okay.
So,
Travis, make your statement. I believe this might be another controversial one.
oh, okay, great. It will be. I'm glad you said that. It is. So, mine again for her. I kind of went to. I go with the older version of Lorraine, and that ended up being Kathy.
Sorry, who?
Kathy O'Hare.
Oh, so Moira shit.
But not only that, she was in and she I remember her from Beetlejuice. Her time in Beetlejuice. She gets for a fact, if his mom, okay. We know how Lorraine is, like, kind of not really like feeling it. Kathy O'Hare, that older version. Now I know it's in the '90s, but let me just hear me out on this. I know she's older, but hell, she's old in the movie too. Kathy O'Hare can do it, no question. Say what you want, she's gonna get it.
Great actress. She could have been cast in the original, maybe, but
Yes.
Erik, I love Florence Pugh. Great. I watched Fighting with My Family. But she's too tough, man. She's not gonna be in a car and be taken advantage of. She's too tough. That's my big argument. Like, I just think
I feel like she can take a step back, though. I mean, yeah, she can play tough.
Yeah,
But I think she can, like, I know, like, it sucks if she's doing Black Widow next year, and I'm like, that really defeats that purpose. But I feel like she would take a step back and play, like, a different type of character, because I feel like she did play that character in Midsummer.
I didn't see Midsummer, so that's my big blind spot.
But she was and also, like, she's willing to work with an ensemble, but, like, still steal the entire movie from everybody. The movie was all about her, but it's really the fact that she comes off as ageless to me. What?
I get what you're saying. She's a very cool performer for me. And I love her. I think she brings so much to the roles, but it is very cool and chilled down. And, like, part of Lori is you want to be able to, or Lorraine is, like, you want to get a little bit of that spark in there when it comes up. And, like, not that Florence can't do it. Look, Florence can probably do everything. You know, if anyone listens to Blank Check, she's Florence, Florence LeBron, Candice Bergen, James Pugh. She's great. I almost also think it's like, I'd rather her play Marty than Lorraine in a weird way. Because, like, I just want her, because if she's in there, I want her to take over. And, like, she can do that. And, like, yeah, she's great in ensemble. But, like, part of what works so well about Little Women and the way it's divided, she just gets to take over her half of the movie. Or her parts of the movie. And, yeah, I think that's a big thing with the supporting roles is we don't know who's playing our Martys. I want someone who's a little more, who's not going to just be like, oh, make this movie about her, than Florence Pugh. And Florence Pugh's great. But yeah, I think she takes too much attention and just she's so good and so
very good at it. But it'll be like a different type of role for her. Like, I mean, you make a career out of, like, defining, like, oh, you're that tough person. But it depends who directs it, depends who writes it. But, I mean, I feel like it'd be a game changer for her to play against type. Exactly. I think that's a good word. And try something different.
Something about that voice, though. It's so low. She's the new Kathleen Turner, quote unquote, which Bobby Zemeckis worked with. And I just think, like, she doesn't bring the naivete, the kind of girl next doorness to the role that, like, you kind of want out of Lorraine, as, like, she's a little doe-eyed. She's someone who's, like, she has these, like, feelings, but she's going to try and repress them a little bit. But, like, then she's going to be in the bedroom alone with Marty, and she's just going to be, like, inching closer and, like, oh, I saw it was, your name was Calvin. It's all over your underwear. And, like, it's, like,
anyone seen Fighting with My Family in here?
I saw Fighting with My Family, and she's a badass in it. And that's the thing, like, Florence Pugh, and again, sorry for the language, Chris. Florence Pugh is just she's gonna take what she wants, and she's just gonna run with it. And, like, that's not Lorraine. Lorraine is a bit more passive. Lorraine's a bit more stifled. Well, Julia Garner really do it because that's the whole role of the assistant. Is she plays this assistant to a Harvey Weinstein kind of guy, and she's so, like, she just has to let things go by, let things boil up quietly. That's mine.
So here's the thing: I haven't really seen much of Julie Garner, honestly. I mean, maybe here and there. I can recall. I think I'm gonna go down to you, Erik. I think Florence Pugh would definitely work I think Florence Pugh would work for sure because her timing is great. I don't think she would have to. She's a person who I can let off and just have everything come to her for sure. So I gotta go down. I think,
And that's why I wish you would watch Ozark for Julia Garner. Because if you think Florence Pugh was tough in the movies I meant, wait till you see what Julia Garner's like.
Yeah, I will.
I
haven't
to
seen
a whole
much
other
of that.
level. Honestly, she was terrifying. She would scare me. I can't unsee Ruth from Ozark if I saw her as Lorraine. But you want someone passive? Yeah, she probably did that perfectly in what was it, The Assistant? But those are two different roles, and I feel like Florence has the range to pull that off. Like, because believe me, Julia does steal every scene she's in Ozark. But I think she's too tough. Actually, the fact that you say that.
Really, I think having seen The Assistant, I can just see her being like the very quiet person who's just letting it kind of boil up and simmer. Watch
the first 5 episodes of Ozark.
Have you seen Lady Macbeth? Either of you? So that's like Florence Pugh's big break, and she basically gets brought in as this like kind of sold off wife, and then takes over the whole castle. And I wouldn't mess with Florence Pugh.
Okay,
that's just a person, and
I need to clearly see Ozark. I mean, clearly I gotta start seeing it.
Okay, this has been a good round, everyone. I think all of you had made some excellent arguments. Kevin, let's start with you. What do you think?
So, Catherine O'Hara is not going to happen, but Travis, I love that you're going with the Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny approach of being the wild card in this exercise. I appreciate that. But when it's down to Julia Garner and Florence Pugh, I don't really mind. Okay, I've seen some of Ozark, so I know what Eric's referencing with Julia Garner, and I've, of course, seen Florence Pugh in several movies where she's very intimidating, but I don't think a modern-day setting making Back to the Future that Lorraine can't have a little bit of that. I mean, it just would provide a new dynamic to the character, so that kind of makes it a wash between the two of them in terms of that aspect. In terms of their acting ability, Lorraine is a very important character, and I think that I would love personally to see both of them in this role, but personally, I give the edge to Florence Pugh because her performance in Little Woman obviously is a great performance, and she's up and coming. And looking back, I know we're not supposed to, but looking back on what Lea Thompson was like at the point of her career in 1985 going into Back to the Future, I think Florence Pugh might be a little bit of an accurate comparison in terms of where she is in her career in 2020. So that's my pick.
Okay, I'll go next. Again, like I said, everyone makes some wonderful arguments. And the Catherine O'Hara thing, I'm going to have to disagree with Travis. She's a really good actress, really talented, really funny. If she was a lot younger, I think she would have pulled off the role really good. But I just can't see it, especially now in 2020. Danny, I love your arguments about Julia Garner. It's just that I don't know about other performances outside of Ozark that could help that. So I'm going to have to go with Erik with Florence Pugh. I think, she does come off as a little bit too tough, but I think she could be really diverse, as we see in something like Little Woman and Midsommar, that she can be a little bit vulnerable, she can be a little bit curious, she can be a little bit playful. So, and I could see her, having a good chemistry, whoever they choose for 2020's Marty McFly or 2020's George McFly. So I am also going to go with Florence Pugh. Jeremy, how about you?
Yeah, well, I wish I had a DeLorean so I could go back in time and stop myself from watching this movie. So, just kidding. God, I would watch it with myself. The answer is Miss Piggy. She should have been chosen as Danny. Honestly, I mean, I also Travis. I love the Schitt's Creek direction that you're going in. I love Moira Rose, but I'm sorry.
And Beetlejuice too, but yes,
and Travis, honestly, I thought what you said, I know you were saying it to refute what, Eric's choice, but I thought it made me choose Eric's choice because I don't think she I think she's more. I think she's tougher than. I think she looks really sweet and innocent, but she comes off really tough, and she knows what she wants, and she takes what she wants. She's the one who, she's the one in his room. She's the one who has her come inside and eat dinner. She pushes and she forces because she loves him. She thinks she loves him. She forces him into situations where she can be with him, and I think that's what Florence Pugh would do really well because she is, looks very sweet, but is very aggressive and knows what she wants, and she'll take it. And also, she deserved that nomination. So Florence Pugh.
All right, I think the vote is pretty obvious with this one. Got the best
Logan.
votes. Yeah, Florence Pugh will be our Lorraine for Back to the Future 2020. Now, we'll see how far we can go. We probably might have to split this video in two and finish it off maybe tomorrow or something like that. But let's see how far we could do if you guys are available tomorrow or some other time. But yeah, let's now recast George Mcfly, the father of Marty McFly. Now, George starts off as a very timid, very kind of a little bit of geek, bit of a nerd, kind of antisocial, a little bit of awkward. And Crispin Glover was perfect in that role. But let's cast the 2020 version of George McFly. So let's start with Erik. What do you got for George?
My choice for George is Asa Butterfield. From all the way back to Hugo, and very recently he was in Sex Education. Oh my God, sorry about that. For Asa, he had the amazing chance of working in 2011 with Hugo. He worked with Marty Scorsese behind the camera, Ben Kingsley, Helen McRoy, Sacha Baron Cohen, Michael Stahlberg, Richard Griffiths, so many people. He was a title character, and he fit into a veteran ensemble as easily as Daniel Radcliffe and Harry Potter did. And like Radcliffe became a better actor of his career, and so was Asa. He's had a couple of letdowns. Unfortunately, one of those was Ender's Game. But he still jumped right back on the horse and did the show Sex Education, where he plays a teenager in high school. He's very funny, awkward, which is what George McFly, I think, asked for. But also he's very real, which is hopefully whoever my choice of directing, he worked perfectly with him. But I feel like Asa has the talent to really pull it off. And like the younger actors, he fits into ensembles very well as an actor. And he could stick around in the long run if this goes well. So I choose Asa Butterfield.
All right, Travis, your time to shine.
All righty, here we go. And this is not from the retirement home, I swear. This time, I got David Schwimmer. You guys have heard of him from Friends, maybe. If you haven't heard of Friends, then what are you doing? Fantastic actor. He was in Versace, Story on there, Friends, everything, Madagascar. This guy can absolutely 100% pull him off. I mean, just saying the name itself, I don't need to really go in too far in this because I already know he's good. So that's our guy right there.
Okay. Danny?
This one was really tough because I don't know. Everyone I liked was too old. They were in their 30s. So I went with, but I did go with someone who's 31. I went with Corey Hawkins, who we know as Dr. Dre in what's it called? Straight Outta Compton, where he played kind of the more, I would say kind of the more quieter one, the more behind the scenes guy. Then we got he's so versatile. Ever since then, he was the lead on 24 Revival that didn't go anywhere. So he played the kind of actiony guy. And then he was on Broadway. He got nominated for a Tony. He's gonna be in The Heights. He plays Benny, who's the friend in The Heights. But what really made me think he's got something, or he could play the awkward nerdy dude. One, not just his talent and stuff, is honestly his Kong Skull Island. Because he just felt I've only seen that movie once, but watching that, he felt like a completely different person than when I had seen him in anything else before. And I think it was just Straight Outta Compton at that point, and maybe one other thing. but it was just like, oh, you can transform, you can do this. And he was playing the awkward kind of put upon scientist in that movie. So I think he could really transfer that sort of energy he has to this kind of guy who's been put upon and isn't lacking of confidence. I think he could do that. I think he's like, it'd be a different kind of lane for him, but it's something we've seen a taste of, and I think he could do it. I want to see it.
All right, guys, debate it out.
Asa Butterfield's a robot.
He's a robot.
He's a robot.
Sex education.
He's a robot.
That was the one film, like, and also he was in another
just in
film.
general,
Boy, the Striped Pajamas. It's just also sharing scenes with Gillian Anderson. I feel like helped him grow on his range a little bit and remembering a lot of things that he learned. But Hawkins, it's just, I have seen him in so many movies where he plays an adult. I'm just trying to think as young as possible where they can grow with the project. Asa is, I think, like 23 or 24. And we still have to believe these kids are in high school.
I get it.
In the beginning. And then they play their older selves in the future. So that's why I chose Asa, because he at least could grow with the project, just like Florence. I feel like since we chose Florence, I feel like the two of them, they seem very mismatched. We saw like how mismatched they are in the very beginning of Back to the Future. I can see that already, especially him pulling off the awkward laugh, and wearing those very thick glasses that I think he can look like a total nerd. And I feel like he would have a lot of fun.
Does Asa Butterfield know how to laugh, though? I don't know if he does.
David Schwimmer does.
He all laugh, not how to laugh.
Don't know if he can do. I don't know if he can smile. He is a robot.
You know who can smile? David Schwimmer can smile.
All right, David Schwimmer, let's just get this over with. Oh my God, he's so old. He's too old for that.
You know what?
He's in his 50s.
Here's the thing.
He was too old when he was on Fred.
But not for the younger McFly, unless they hope that they do better than the Irishman did. He still has to be a kid.
This is so blasphemy here. It's amazing. First off,
David Schwimmer looked 30 when he was like in his 20s on Friends.
Yes, just like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man.
This is just...
You forgot one of the biggest roles he did, which was Band of Brothers.
David Schwimmer...
Yes, Band of Brothers was great. And again, that's why he's going to be in the film.
But I'm just going to see Ross.
Let me just say, because...
If you cast him, I'm still going to only see Ross.
Yeah, well...
I will see Ross.
We all gotta move on at some point.
What else would he bring to the role?
Say again?
Asa, I feel like, can try something different with the part. And
Asa couldn't swing a bat like this guy can. What I was going for there, but
Asa is so emotionless, and like it works really well in Sex Therapy because he's like a very clinical character. He's raised by a therapist, and that's how he kind of acts, and that dictates it. But that speaks more to just they found the right person for the right character than like his necessary ability and his ability to get into the character. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just like it's not so much. It's like not that they're not good or bad actors. I think anyone working is probably better.
Oh yeah, I mean anyone that's absolutely.
But what I say is like sometimes it is just you get the right person for the right role, and if that person didn't have that role, like that's kind of the thing with Asa. He was great in Hugo, but that's he's
much younger, but like growing up and becoming a teenager and experiencing a lot more than experienced.
But ever since Hugo, he has just been a robot. And we don't want a robot.
I know, we want David Schwimmer. That's what we want.
We don't want a 50.
We don't want David Schwimmer.
I do, and we will get him.
Corey Hawkins. Sorry, too old.
Travis, you've got a great cast if you were casting these people in 1985. Like, that's...
Schwimmer, maybe around then might have worked for the part.
Could
just
play the
not
part.
in 2020.
I mean, here's the thing. If you want the movie to make money, that's fine. But, I mean, if you don't want it to make money, we could cast your parts in it for sure.
Wow. Rude. But I'll say, who the heck was Crispin Glover at the time?
True.
Still saying that
now. Nothing.
I feel like it's just like, it's thinking in the long run, because I'm like, if we know the script as well as we do, we know like it will hopefully be a success. And if it's a success, what comes after success? Another sequel. So it's like the actors that you both chose are just going to keep getting older and hope that we don't have to like deal with
No one
it.
gets any younger anyway.
Here's my take though, in defense of Corey, not as huge a part in Back to the Future 2. Like George Mcfly is dead in Back to the Future 2.
Unless they rewrite it.
In and out of that movie. Very
a lot might change.
And then in 3, covered in makeup. Old West, you can make that work. And they were like all like closer to 30 by the time Back to the Future 3 came out.
I guess I'm thinking the most awkward person I can possibly think of, and he's so awkward on Sex Education. I'm like, I just think awkwardness for the character.
Yeah, but he's awkward because he's a robot,
as...
not because he's an awkward human being you can fall in love with. He's a robot. And I don't want robots in my movies.
I know, you want David Schwimmer.
I don't want David Schwimmer.
You don't want David Schwimmer.
I don't want a 50. Look, I'm fine with Schwimmer. I like him as an actor. I thought
especially as Robert Kardashian. He was great, but he was Robert Kardashian.
Right, but
he's not Robert Kardashian when OJ happened.
He's not going to be Mr. Kardashian anymore anyway.
All right. Oh, how are we doing on time? Should we like?
I'm running out of time.
Yeah. Let's wrap this. Let's wrap this round, and we'll probably continue tomorrow. This is a really entertaining round, guys. Pick all interesting variety of picks. Logan, let's start with you.
I'll mirror what everyone's saying. Travis, either you're a huge fan of Friends or you're just trying to cast this thing in the 90s. Schwimmer continues along with this trend of being much too old for high school version of George. In looking at the cast, kind of seeing the arguments and kind of how they would pair with Florence, I have to mirror Erik's argument that Corey Hawkins, he is great, but I do think he is too old. And also, Corey Hawkins, now I'll admit, I have not seen Kong Skull Island, but that dude is too cool. There is no way that dude is not already getting a date with Lorraine. Look, there's no way she has not already said yes to a date with that.
I'm just.
Now, while Asa is
if I had to pick anyone who has seen Kong Skull Island, I would have thought it was you.
I know. That's why it's a wild card. Anyway, but when it comes to Asa, like, while yes, he might be stiff, he might be robotic, that can play with George, with this awkward George who doesn't really know how to interact with people and how to feel like a grown-up. So of the choices that are there with the arguments that are presented, I think I would have to go with Erik's choice of Asa Butterfield.
Okay, Kevin, what do you think?
All right. First of all, Travis, I think your David Schwimmer pick is far less egregious than the Catherine O'Hara pick and the what was the other one? It's not he doesn't as old as the other two people that you've picked before. And the image in my head of Jimmy Tatro just beating up David Schwimmer as Biff and George is funny, but that would probably just be like a viral video, not Back to the Future. I'll just say right now, I'm going to go with Corey Hawkins because Corey Hawkins is a great actor. I love Straight Outta Compton, and he's probably the best part next to Jason Mitchell as Eazy-E, but that's for debate. And I think that Asa Butterfield, I don't know how to pronounce that. I think I just or Asa Butterfield. I think I agree with Danny that he is a little too robotic, and I can't picture him with Florence Pugh. I can picture Corey Hawkins with Florence Pugh in a movie role, and I think that they would make a great couple in the current 1985 or the current 2020, where they're like older and they're not as cool as they are at the end of the movie. And I think that he has the range to play a nerdy version of George Mcfly, which is basically the whole movie. And I also, not to like look ahead too far into the next few picks, but if we don't pick Corey Hawkins, then one of my personal favorite picks is basically like scrapped from contention. And I really want that pick to go through as well. No spoilers. But Corey Hawkins is my choice.
Okay, we got Corey Hawkins. I'll go next. I'll I'm not gonna even go there with David Schwimmer. But even though Travis, you made a good argument about it. I love the choice of Corey Hawkins, Asa Butterfield. I did see Corey Hawkins in Kong Skull Island, and yeah, he was very different from where he was in Straight Out of Compton. I think he can play that nerdy role if you want to, but since we already got Jimmy Tatro, again, I can't see Jimmy Tatro kicking Corey Hawkins' ass. I can see Corey Hawkins kicking Jimmy Tatro's ass in reverse. So I can't believe that Jimmy Tatro can pick on him. Otherwise, with Asa Butterfield, yeah, he is timid. He is kind of scrawny. He's kind of robotic, but that just plays up to his awkwardness. Does have that. I believe he can have that comedic timing. So, yeah, I am going to go with Erik's choice of Asa Butterfield. Jeremy, how about you?
Yeah, first of all, if anybody talks crap on this movie, I just want to say they're the worst. All right. If anybody dislikes this movie, I would beat them up. All right. I would talk to them really sternly. Once again, I can't believe it, but it was Kermit the Frog. He was the actual choice. You and Miss Piggy have been working together, their chemistry. But if you think about it, we did choose Florence Pugh. And you can't tell me you don't want to see a movie with Florence Pugh and Kermit the Frog working together. It's pretty obvious now. But nobody chose that. Still some great choices. First of all, I don't even like Friends. I think David Schwimmer's annoying. So actually, that might be true. I don't know. No, Friends is good. It's made me laugh. It's no How I Met Your Mother. That's another day. Another weekend. And I do love Asa Butterfield. I mean, August Rush. I still bang on the guitar because he did it. He made it look so cool. Working with Robin Williams.
That was
but yeah,
a different actor.
Freddie Highmore, dude.
Really? Well, why didn't anybody say Freddie Highmore? Are they not?
He doesn't exist.
No, they should be in a movie together as
He
twins.
wasn't so big on TV. I would have considered him.
All right, well then Hugo, great stuff. I loved Ender's Game. I mean, maybe I loved the book more than I thought I don't know. Yeah, maybe he is a bit too. I don't know. I love Corey for the role. I think he may be too like. I feel like he could get that date really fast. But like he wears, if you put glasses on him, he's a nerd. That's how it works in the movies, right? You can't get a date if you have glasses. That's not true. But I think it's like, it would be cool to see him. Maybe they dress him up like a nerd. He's wearing glasses. Maybe, I don't know how else they would do it. But then at the end, he's like the super cool, awesome dude that Crispin Glover like didn't. I mean, he had the attitude, but like if you show Corey at the end of the movie, you're gonna be like, whoa, this guy made a real 360 turn. He's making science fiction books that are making millions, and now and he's got the confidence now. So I'm going with Corey. And also, yeah, that's it. If anybody hates Back to the Future, my address is 6. Just kidding.
All right. So we do have a tie between Asa Butterfield and Corey Hawkins. Travis, you be the swing vote on this one.
You're muted.
Muted.
Well, here we go. This separates.
And I was going to say, it hasn't been your day, your month, your week.
Nope. But I accept it. I just, at the end of the day, you just, I don't know, 2020, I don't know. I am going to go with Asa Butterfield.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So Asa Butterfield has won this round. Asa will be our George McFly, folks. All right, folks. Some of us have something to do in a bit, so we're going to continue this on in another part 2 video where we cast Marty and Doc, and we're gonna get our new director. But thanks for watching so far. I look forward to the next video, and thank you for watching. We'll see you a little bit soon.